Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today at the Races here at Laurel Park for a beautiful Thursday of racing. We are back on the turf. Gotta love that. Main track is fast, turf listed is firm right now. Temperature's a little chill in the air, but it's a sunny, beautiful day, kind of a Chamber of Commerce kind of day as we kick off Maryland Million Week. Maryland Million on Saturday. And with me today, Brian Nadeau from Gulfstream Park, part of the first racing team, morning line maker, handicapper extraordinary. If you want to see like kind of two serious degenerates, you got them right here, and Brian and myself. So we're lucky to have him. I think Dan Illman's going to be around this weekend. Some really good guys giving you advice, some gambling advice to kind of take you along, because we've got a smorgasbord of betting opportunities. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Keith, good to be with you. Thanks for everybody having me.
Yeah.
Phenomenal card on Saturday. We'll get into it and talk about it. But my goodness, as you mentioned, the morning line, and you got 4-1, 9-2 kind of favorites that I'm sure will be way wrong by post time. But phenomenal day of racing, and then, like you said, great to be back on the turf today as well. I know it's been a struggle up here.
I appreciate you taking the reins from me. I did the line for a number of years here down at Colonial, and as we'll talk about it a little bit later, it's a thankless job. It's a tough job, and it can really, drain you mentally doing it day in, day out, year after year. But Brian's done a great job. And first and foremost, though, our thoughts to everybody. You're from down in Florida. Dave Joseph, part of our team, Phil Janik, Ron, everybody, the whole team. Our thoughts, everything that the people had to deal with through that kind of central part on the western part of Florida. So our thoughts are with everybody down there, all the recovery teams that are there to set up and help people out. So tough to deal with, but I'm sure they will get back.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's been unfortunate. It's been a rough couple, 2 or 3 weeks down there with the prior Hurricane Helene. Luckily it hasn't hit that much in the Fort Lauderdale, Gulfstream, kind of Hollandale area. But again, like you said, our thoughts and prayers with everybody on the other side of the state, because that's not the case over there. So fingers crossed, everybody's going to be okay. You got it.
So let's get rolling here. Thursday's card, 9 races on tap today, as we said. Fast main track. Turf is firm. I thought that the main track was playing pretty fair most of the way of recent races, and we still got value. I mean, even those races taken off the turf, right? Big pick fives. I think it's going to hold sway here. I mean, our pattern has been very good payoffs in this early pick five. Let's kick things off with that early pick five, 12% takeout. Maiden claimers, 6 furlongs, 12-5 down to 10. No scratches in race one. You're going to lean on this 4-horse fierce competition who really kind of got obliterated at the break on the turf course, comes back to, I think, a preferred surface for him.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking, Keith, at maybe the last time he had a fair go of it, and that was back here in August. Draw a line through the turf, Timonium. Obviously, not everybody's going to handle that. That's 2 turns over there. We'll look at the race here back on August 18th. I thought it was a pretty solid effort. I don't necessarily trust the horses. We're going to talk about the Andrus and Bells Are Ringing race. I kind of felt like I wanted to go a little bit elsewhere.
And fierce competition has the ability to move into that flow, and I think you're going to get that today with these 3 horses from the inside. Let's take a look at Andrus. His debut run, it was a really good race. At 24-1, we won't get anything remotely close to this. But this Damon Dilladovico trainee broke a little inward at the break, had to straighten and then rush up. Never really caught a breather. Escapes past the 8th pole with a clear lead, just can't hold on late, but I thought it was a gritty effort nonetheless.
Yeah, you can't take anything away from him. It's a huge run. He does all the dirty work, and he just gets nailed in the shadow of the wire here. Unfortunate that he couldn't quite see it out. As you mentioned, 24-1 that day. Well, we're not going to get anything like that today. He did do well to draw outside. Bells are ringing if they want to be aggressive there. I said, you know what, that race was, not the fastest race you're going to run here. Maybe I'll just try to look elsewhere.
Yeah, and bold talk. We'll get to bold talk in a second. We've got a stat here for Damon too. Let's not forget that. It's a big stat. 8 for 17 is Damon. The last 3 years on the dirt with these maiden claimers making their second career start. ROI, it's a gaudy 531. So you've got that going for you. Just like you said, the other kind of primary speeds drawn to the inside. Yeah. Maybe we'll see a rating here for Andrus in the opener. Bold talk, I'll let you talk about that one a little bit here for trainer Diane Marici.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his dirt races, and they're against much better. I don't know what's left in the tank. He hasn't run that well of late. They were on the turf. We'll see what we get today. But if he's going to throw his A effort, he's probably going to win. But you can't take an underlaid price on hoping he gets back there.
Just layoff line after layoff line is the biggest concern here. Turf back to dirt. And brings anything close to that second career start. It's lights out 1, 2, 3 for these in the open at 4, 2, 3, 6, 3, 4, 2, 6. We're kind of right around the same thing. And looking at this card all the way through, we were close. We were around it most of it. But there's a couple races, and I even looked at Dan Owen's picks. I mean, we're all over the map in a few, so that's what makes it interesting, gives you those big payouts. Let's look at the second. We get back to the turf course. A mile and a 16th. We've got the Gentry Ladies World Championship here today. We want to welcome them to Laurel Park. They've been here in the past. I think their most recent start might have been Budapest, Hungary. I went to the website, looked at a little bit of that, looked at the standings, how things are going there. And, I think we've got 5 of the top 7 riders here this afternoon. So welcome to all the ladies, part of the Gentry World Championships. Here's an early pick 3 that I drew up for you. Early pick 4 ticket was just going to be too much for me. I've got a $16 play. 4 deep to get you started, 3, 4, 5, and 9. Maybe Magnolia Wing can go wire to wire. Race 3, 1, 2, 4, and 6. Wrap it up in the 4th. 2 deep. Inside out, right? Little Josie Wales, 15 Thursday Girl, almost all the way on the outside. That's a $16 ticket with some value amongst those races where we spread. Looking at race 2, so not a lot to go on from jockeys we're not really familiar. Right. We're looking at the form, and I'm like, all these horses kind of match up identical with numbers. So it's a well-matched field on paper. I kind of lean Magnolia Wind to get to the front. You're going to go for the 6, My Little Red, Class Relief.
No, I got Magnolia. I got Magnolia Wind too. Because all right. I'm thinking exactly what you're thinking.
Beautiful.
Keith,
okay, my bad. I wrote that down wrong.
You look at this race and just kind of said, who's going to be in front? This horse has run. She's run well here on the turf at Laurel, 2 seconds from 2 starts. And, it could be a little bit of a battle of attrition late as well, and maybe we can kind of skirt clear entering the far turn. Comes in off a win. I know we're a lifetime maiden, 0 for 14, but she's got the breakthrough win last time. Get a little confidence. Maybe the light bulb's gone on here now, and we just try to pop this field.
Yeah, I thought that was a good try last time at Penn. We've seen some of the horses come off the Penn turf course to run well here. This one is proven over the Laurel turf course with a good effort behind TC Nea and next out winner. You move outside for your second selection, Mariano, trying to sustain a run from off the pace.
Yeah, I kind of feel like she's the best horse. The post maybe isn't ideal. Like you said, going to come from off the pace. She fits nicely here. I thought she ran pretty well here in June, to be honest, off of, very extenuating circumstances. Yeah. With the layoff as well, we'll have to work something out from kind of the parking lot a little bit. But I kind of thought at the end of the day, she's probably the best horse in here.
And a shout out to these ladies. They've done a phenomenal job. A lot of travel. It's not easy giving up their time. Right. Aline Hedman on the 4, I believe leading rider right now. She's from Sweden. 9 winners this year. Has that experience, knows where the wire is, can find it. I like that angle. Hey, back at you, this 3 horse. I've got second. You've got in the mix in third. A horse that's back to the turf course today, going to try to sustain that run as well. I think maybe a covered up trip could really work well for a horse that has a tendency to flatten in those races at a mile.
Well, you look at the Delaware race 2 back. I know the turf racing here is better than at Delaware. That was a pretty good group. The top 2 come back both to win. Good ground-saving post here. We don't have to drop too far out the back either. This horse is certainly an A to me.
Okay, yeah, Serena Brotherton here, plenty of experience. I think 3rd in the standings for the Gentry Ladies World Championship. 4:10, 3:9 for Brian. I go 4:3, 5:9. We move on to race 3. Second leg of that early pick 4, third leg of the early pick 5, as we've got some information for later. I appreciate it regarding the Gentry race in race 2. I'm sure Callie will have some information. You'll have some more to pass along. But let's take a look at the third. We're back to the main track. It's a field of 6, no scratches, going 1 mile, maidens, 2-year-olds, 15 down to 12, 15 down to 10. Bright Charger. Let's go to the video spotlight. Your top selection had a horror trip out of the gate last time out.
Yeah, didn't get really able to show any kind of speed, and right there you get knocked off, out of the saddle a little bit. You're immediately behind the 8 ball here. It's a horse that probably wants to show more speed. Wasn't able to do it at Timonium. That was a 2-turn race where they went pretty fast that day. I'd like to think, and you just have to assume and hope that we're going to get the best, an alert beginning today, and this horse should be a lot closer.
Yeah, maybe back to a drier track. Maybe didn't like the mud mud. The kick back wasn't comfortable at all. I'm a little concerned about this precipitous drop right off the bat here, and only its third start, because I thought the debut was encouraging at Timonium. I think Flatbed Ford, Hammy going with the blinkers on, is definitely a horse we want to take a look at. We can scratch that, guys. We're going to talk about Flatbed Ford right now with Tori Alba drawing the inside at this 1 mile distance. Flatbed Ford, I thought last time out, a little jostle, showed some heart, making a little bit of a move before flattening out, but stretching out by a stallion who hits at a 21% strike rate with the Dirt Routers in Dundalk. I think Flatbed Ford's going to bring a run and lay a little bit closer today with a better break.
Yeah, he's got to be, right? Because you're probably not going to win races like that, dropping out the back, and the blinkers are going to go on today. Yeah, you got Tapizar in the bottom of this pedigree, so certainly an extra couple furlongs probably isn't going to hurt him any. And I think he brought up a good point. He showed finally, I guess he showed a little signs of life last time, a little fight in the lane, passing a few horses, so that could bode well here.
Yeah, Flashy Dude looks to be the horse to beat, 8-5 on your morning line, rightly so. Beaten as a favorite the last two. The blinkers went on last time. I thought this horse could have maybe made the lead against that group. Didn't. Sat just off the dueling leaders. Failed to kick on. We're both taking a little shot against this shorter price Nest runner. Nest with a couple runners. Got back on the board the other day.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the right morning line favorite. It doesn't mean you have to go to the window at him at underlaid prices, because he's failed twice already. Hasn't been close to winning. They're going to bet him again. You know that. The barn has been cold. I know you said, you mentioned, picked up a couple wins the other day, but boy, you just kind of take it for gambling here, and you're kind of taking all the worst of it in this
Exactly.
spot.
I'm looking for a little bit higher price in here, but you're looking at Bright Charger. I'm looking at inside at Flatbed Ford. Let's roll to the fourth, as we got a lot to cover on today's 9-race card. We're going to talk about the Maryland Million races a little bit later. So race 4, turf action, 5.5, fillies and mares. Never won 3 or the 3-year-old fillies. This is a doozy of a field. Scratch the 2 Molly Tapper, the 3 Neolithica, the 6 Harmonizing. Scratch the 10 Love to Eat, the 11 La Visa, the 12 Attached. Rainbow pick 6 time. Let's take a look at Callie's ticket. 28.80, and she goes spread wide in race 4 with a 1, 4, 13, 15. Whittles it down 2 deep in the 5th and the 6th. 7th race with the 3, 8, and 9 are single. Tough to kind of single anybody on today's card. I know you got one a little bit later, and I think we've got dueling singles possibly. She's got the 6 Bouncer. I know you and I like No Easy Days. Bouncer looks to get to the front in race 8 and take them coast to coast, and she wraps it up with the 3, 5, and 7 in race number 9 for a 28.80 Rainbow pick 6 ticket. Let's take a look at this 4th race. It's a really good one. We'll start with your top selection, the 5 Sophisticated Cat. I'm assuming you're thinking maybe the speed of the speed?
I'd like to have something clever, Keith. I couldn't really come up with it. I think at the end of the day, she's the best horse. She might get loose. She is the speed. The drop is pretty big when you're talking to 42L at Monmouth. You easily draw a line through the muddy race on the main track here last time. It's Claudio Gonzalez, a barn that we know so well here in Maryland. And I'm just going to kind of hope she's the best horse at the end of the day, because if it's not her, my goodness, I really don't know who it was. I wanted to, you're on the 1. I tried to make her a little bit. I tried to get her at 6 or 8 to 1. I had to move her to 10. I just worried about the rail a little bit down there.
Yeah, what'd you end up on a 5? 5 to 2. And I think on this little bit of drop is the speed will take plenty of play. Let's take a real quick look at the 1. Little Josie Wales, my top selection to go. First off, the claim for Farrier, Anthony Farrier with his 1,000th win. Recently had a little celebration there in the winner's circle. But the barn's picking it back up. Little Josie Wales hasn't seen the turf since July. This is a really good effort. Had to kind of drop inside around the turn and then just kept on grinding through the stretch, chasing Watch Me Disappear at a big, big number. She's all right, though, I think, in here. I think she's got enough positional speed. Sheldon can get this one in a stalking position. I don't think she's quite the speed of your top selection.
Right.
But within a couple lengths without any trouble into the turn and around the turn. She's shown to bring a kick. She's made moves from a little bit further off the pace in the past, and I kind of like the price that we might get here on the 1 Little Josie Wales. Bunny Hop, interesting. This is a horse when you really look at it. 5 to 1 on the morning. Just even Feliciano, not win a ton, but can get a winner. Might slip through the cracks a little bit, but I like the efforts, the trying.
Yeah, and she's got a win here. She's perfect
Yeah.
in the one start over the Laurel Turf Course. You see it back in June. It was a pretty solid win. I like that she showed some speed that day, too. You know, last time at Delaware, she dropped back a little bit more, but she's shown in the past, especially right here, that she doesn't need to be that far back. You know, sophisticated cat's going to go. Hopefully she can kind of work out a position maybe just off of her a little bit. She's got two big figures. If you trust them, those Delaware races can be a little, you know, untrustworthy to say the least. But I think she's shown it here that she can play with a group like this.
Delaware just plays a little different turf course
Yeah,
than
I
it
agree.
seems like most, and it's hard to get a gauge sometimes off the horses, and even doing the numbers, it's got to be tough.
Yeah.
Following that circuit and working the 13 baby blocks, drawing outside with some stalking speed. Interesting. The only other speed really outside of that one, no, that is. Yeah, that's it. So
Yeah.
I think this one, baby blocks, your 13 could set up shop, stalking the pace.
Yeah, and she's got 3 scratches to her inside, too. That's going to help her, too. And even the 15, you know, when you're in the parking lot. But now it's not necessarily the case. I think, hey, Baby Blocks comes in off a win. I know it was at Colonial. That's not going to stack up here necessarily. But I always think in these kind of lower-level claiming races, you come in off a win with some confidence. I think it can be an overlooked angle.
And I think you have to look at the 15 as
Yeah.
well. We'll come down off the line due to some of these scratches. But Thursday Girl goes first time for Brittany Russell. Lasix going back on. Things get heated up front. I can see a relaxed run here off the back, from the back of the pack with Victor. He'll try to drop in around the turn, maybe shift out. It's going to be interesting to find with this course getting back to it. Could there be a particular path or two that works when we're talking about we've been off this turf course for quite some time with all this rain. So 5-7, 13, 15 on 1:15, 8-5 in the fourth. Let's go to race 5, 7/8 of a mile on the main track. Maiden 45s down to 36 in race 5. No scratches here. Brian, you go inside. Beach Cowboy off a little bit of trouble trip going a half at Timonium.
Yeah, Keith, I got to be honest with you. I didn't know what to do with this race. I thought you could throw a blanket on it. You could run it 10 times and get, you know, 5 or 6 different winners. Beach Cowboy's supposed to have speed, right? You got the big figure. Again, I'm going to kind of go off that angle where he didn't handle Timonium, had a little bit of a troubled trip as well. You know, Kieran McGree's going good again. We get the inside draw. Let's just try to pop this field because – you know, you got Lord of Mischief, who was pretty good last time, but had a huge number, and I don't know if anybody else is running with this horse.
What do you make of it? Right, that was first-time blinkers over at Timonium. Got into trouble. This would be first-time blinkers. Get that clear trip.
Right.
Could just set sail and keep going. I like the fact that Kieran, who's not scared to drop a horse, he can be aggressive. He kind of holds around this level. I think that bodes well for the chances of the one Beach Cowboy. Angel Morales, not a rider I'm familiar with, but maybe a new shooter to the circuit comes in for the ride. Beaver State, video spotlight horse for Robbie Bales. I think this one should be very tough, off of a tough trip in its first local try. Came up from Ellis Park, off a little slow out of the gate, got some position down the backside, and then just kind of had to tap the brakes going into the turn. But all in all, you see this horse, the one horse down to the inside, made a fairly good recovery. Some trouble in mid-stretch, and we're going to pick this up here in a little bit. This horse angles out right around the 3/8 for Robbie Bales. Makes a menacing move. Mind the Gold was able to kind of handle that pressure and dictate. Also in this field, just to the outside, don't leave out Lord of Mischief, who's coming back at that big number, who stays on. Right here, Lord of Mischief drifts out a little bit. You think Beaver State's got that momentum, just stalled there and just didn't really quite kick on from there, but shorter field here today, I think should encounter a better go of it.
Yeah, I think he's clearly the horse to beat. You could make a case he's going to be a lot shorter than 5-2 as well. You see those maiden special weights. He's dropping back. The thing that worried me, Keith, now is it the exception or the rule now? He's broken pretty much dead last in all 3 starts. And now it's kind of like 3 in a row now. It's not just a one-off kind of thing. I worry about that, especially because I'm trying to get the one loose, you know. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
I agree. He might need a little bit of help up front. Need Lord of Mischief to go after Beach Cowboy a little early. I'll let you touch upon the 2 striking 6 of 6, a first-timer here for Mike Stidham for Lael Stable.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's so strong, and it's a homebred for the Jacksons here, but there's not really a lot to go on. The works are certainly not telling us or whispering anything that he's overly ready. There's really not a lot of pedigree here. Dan took 4 starts to break her maiden. The other 2 foals weren't really much. They didn't win on debut. Take a wait-and-see approach here. You've got expert connections. Maybe let the tote board be the guy. I don't think you want to look up there, Keith, and see this horse at 7 or 8 to 1.
Correct.
That's not a good sign.
No, it's not a good sign. And that's one of the biggest thing with these firsters. Follow that money early, see if it holds. Sometimes they float and then come back down. So, follow the money with these first-time starters. If we say tab to tote. This one uses the Maryland bred, the waiver here. So not in for the claiming price is the 2 Striking Sis. The 7 Brighty, you've got in the mix as well as I do. I thought that was a pretty good try-in debut with trouble. Made a decent wide move and kept churning onto the wire. I'm going to toss this one in underneath along with the 4 Jazzio. This horse kind of got a gimme, I thought, at Timonium. Finished up well, galloped out well. I like the family, Galerio, Bella Bettina, horses that have done well at a mile, 7/8 of a mile. Didn't really get involved last time out at 27 to 1. Comes back at a good price again. I'm not going to give up just yet on Jazzio as Toledo stays for Katie Voss. That's a look at the first 5. Commercial break and back with the late pick 4. Back for this Thursday edition of Today at the Races. Brian Nato with me. I'm Keith Fustel with Equibase. This is race 6. We got a jackpot super high 5. We'll throw that up for you. 15% takeout, $1 minimum play. Race 6, 5.5 on the turf for the fillies and mares. It's a starter, 20K starter. Scratch the 5 retail therapist. We've also going to take a look at Brian's late pick 4. This couldn't have been easy.
No, not at all.
You made it affordable.
Yeah, especially with the last race. I think I could have bought the race for that matter. We'll go too deep here. We'll talk about it in a second, but I think Gift of Gab is clearly the horse to beat. Race 7 has got my price play, my long shot today, Lucky Prince, that really blew up on the turf last time. I'm going to hope that race is believable, put it that way. The single in race 8, we'll show the video, No Easy Days, had no easy go of it last time, and hopefully we get a better trip today. And then in race number 9, it's a blanket. They all looked exactly the same on paper to me, Keith, and that's why I went with the first-time starter, the Toner Allen Homebred. You're the top with some nice pedigree, too.
Yeah, we got a video spotlight for you in race 9. A couple horses from a Colonial Downs that didn't have the easiest of trips. Interesting firster. Took a look at that breeding for the 3. You're the top. I think you have to include in your pick 4s, pick 5s, and pick 6s coming here for Jimmy Toner. So let's take a look at race 6. You talked about Gift of Gab, and man, she's bringing the best finishes I've seen her bring of recent note. You have to go back on the page. This Suzanne Stutenius trainee is in razor sharp form. The only kind of knock I might have on her, she's got a couple good turf races on her page. If there's a little bit more give, is she vulnerable here in the 6th? But man, holding recent form, she will be very, very tough.
Yeah, I think she's clearly the one in here. I mean, there's others that are in her league, but if she runs her race, and the thing is, she just always runs her race. It's not like she has a bad day at the office or anything. If you mentioned the give in the course, if there is a little bit out there, and we'll kind of figure that out as the day goes on, I think. Check the fractions and things like that. But, boy, she's just in too good form now, and she comes in off a 1X win. She is in for the tag. I don't know if you want to make anything on that, but I couldn't really look too much against her. No, you still have to dip into your, sometimes I think we, as handicappers, you think, oh, she's in for the tag today. Well, you still have to go into your
Somebody's
pocket
got
and use $30,000.
And it's late in the turf season. You're going to have to maybe sit on her for a little while. Hopefully we can kind of get this turf going to November, early mid-November. But you're right. That's a lot of coin for a horse that hasn't really ever run on the dirt. So well spotted, I believe. It has to, in here for the tag. No worries for Gift of Gab. The 9, Theodore Grace, blew their doors off last time. Got a duel. This is a tougher group. Yeah. But talk about one I went on the go back on Formulator. Has a big number, 79 buyer speed figure over a course with a little bit of give to it.
Yeah, I mean, she did get set up last time. There's no doubt about it. They went crazy early. She took advantage. She sat back and kind of did her thing. It is kind of above and beyond what she's done of late, but she just it's a big race. And as you said, she's got prior form that says, you know what, it's not just a one-off. Maybe she can stack races up.
Okay, yeah, looking for that one to make a move. Angel Art shortening up. Class drop out of the 2 other than going long. Horse that's run well over this turf course. Flow should be there. I look for this one to make a charge as well. Not in my top picks, but will be used. I'm going to take a kind of a wild approach to this race and use a couple prices, but I'm definitely going to toss in this one. Let's go to a video spotlight as well, because we've got Gift of Gab.
Yep.
We've got Lily Simone. Thanks, guys. And we're going to go back to that race on the 14th of September. I guess Lily Simone clearly got the worst of it.
She did, but I mean, there's a reason why Gift of Gab is probably always going to beat Lily Simone. And so when you employ this kind of running style, right, you've got a full field on the turf. You're going 5.5. If you check for a quarter of a stride, you're not going to get there. It's just too much to ask when you're facing a good, solid group of horses like this. And Lily Simone is kind of her own worst enemy. She wants to drop out the back and make a run. And if you know, you don't get that Jerry Bailey grindstone kind of ride, which is a lot easier said than done, you're going to have to check up in these spots. And I think that's what's been, you know, I don't see a win on her page here, Keith, and that kind of worries me, you know.
It's been a while. I've been wishing some of these horses that have been winless for a long time. We got one home the other day, but you're right. You looked at Gift of Gab in that race too, just relaxed beautifully, made that sharp move into it and held very firm to the wire. We talked about her. She's finishing her races as well as I've ever seen her race. I go outside, shot a Fondy at 15-1. You're going to give me J-Rod at 15-1. I'm going to take a shot. Been a while. This one's kind of looking back, saying trying to regain some of that form from 2023 in the summer. Second off a break, brought back quick. Maybe a good sign. This guy's done okay with horses on short rest before, but she's proven over this turf course. 2 wins out of 7 starts, 5 of 7 in the money. I like her position here. Kind of a couple stone closers to her inside. She'll get position up on the engine, and I think she's feeling a little frisky today, a little chill in the air. She could stay around a long time.
Yeah, they're probably going to bet her a little bit. She's probably priced a little too high. I didn't, you know, they haven't bet her of late. That's what kind of bugs me a little bit. She's been kind of dead on the board a little bit. I don't know where her form is right now, but she has run well here. She kind of went off form here in late June. If she can get back to her races, she's certainly one of the ones in here. I just wondered, is she going to be on the hard chase wide every step of the way?
That could be her downfall. I'm gonna at that kind of number, and I think she's going to hold a good play in here, a good value. I'll take a shot with the 10. I'm going to work her top and bottom in some exactas in race number 6. Race 7 kicking off the late pick 3 on the turf again. We stretch out to a mile. Maiden Claimers 20 down to 16. You're leaning with this 7 horse, Lucky Prince for Flint Stites. Meet the Flint Stites. I tell you, really encouraging try. I love the effort every step of the way last time.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, this horse is very slow on the dirt. And this is an angle I kind of like to use. Okay, you switch surfaces, and that huge number, the horse blows way up. I thought that was a pretty good face value fourth last time, Keith. First start on the turf, first start at 2 turns. It was against a better group as well. And the betting public, I think you can agree with me that sometimes they see that 77-1, and they get, oh, that was just a fluke. They don't come back to horses like this. Who are you supposed to be scared of in here? So I just said, I'm going to take a little shot, and this is my value play tonight.
And we both look. We see Brittany Russell here with the 6 horse, but I agree. Lucky Prince, I think, can go ahead of her. If there's anybody that wants to kind of go, I think British Sea could possibly go up to the front. A little speed comes out with Burroughs K scratched. Lucky Prince, I mean, on or just off of it, and just the effort. If you go back and watch that video, we probably should have shown that. This horse was giving effort every step of the way, came back a little bit through the final 1/8 of a mile, and you say, we've got a number 12-1. I like that. Good value play in race number 7. But Ask Isaac, Brittany Russell, nobody, going going as well as she is right now, and it's all over the place. You know, rooting for post time in the Breeders' Cup. I'll let you talk about this one going first time for this barn.
Yeah, they're going to crush this horse. And I think Brittany wins at a high percentage for a lot of different reasons, but I think one of the reasons is where the horses are placed. They're placed where they belong. And at the end of the day, this probably is a $20,000 maiden claimer. We can't play at Saratoga in a special weight. Belmont at Aqueduct for 75. Nope, that's not going to work either. Well, here he is with some friends as a first-time gelding.
Yes.
They're going to throw it in with two hands on this horse, Keith. So, you know, that you anybody else you like, you're going to get elevated value because this is going to be a very, very short number, but clearly the race goes through him.
Strength in numbers with the barn, strength in a little bit of coin. They got some coin they can work with, right? So not really worried about it. Out of that race, that 8th place finish, I think came back, or it had run like a 74-75 in a couple. And that was fairly strong. Some of those other horses ran some big numbers, and he was right there with them. Master Munnings. 7 posts down to the inside, was able to work an inside-out trip last time out, as well as the 13 Fire and Knives. I think we both think these will be formidable from off the pace.
Yeah, they're both fine, right? But I don't really think that race was necessarily, you know, any great shakes.
Right.
And that's another reason why I kind of said, you know what, I'll take a shot in here. Fire and Knives gets beat up by the post position draw. He's going to have to really work something out. And I don't know, they hammered Master Munnings, and I thought he could have run a little better.
He worked out a pretty good trip.
Really
just didn't bring the kind of run that I thought he would bring. Agreed there. You kind of see where we're going. Our value's there with the 7. Obviously going to use Brittany. If you want to use a couple of these other ones underneath, do so. Race 8. Pretty salty race here. 3 other than optional. 5.5 on the main track. Shorter field, but a quality field of 6. They all stay. We're both looking at No Easy Days. We'll go right to the video spotlight for this one.
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of got himself in a little bit of a jackpot here. I think he's in a tricky spot. He's in between runners, which is never going to be ideal anyway. And then you're going to see him get tightened up on a little bit here. And, you know, this is kind of his day now. The race is over. He's even money in this spot, rightfully so. And you're going to see it coming up here where he's just basically going to check out of it. Now he's advancing, too. And I think that sometimes people get a little hot and bothered by trouble when you're not doing any running.
Right.
Well, he was running, and I think right there it's game over. You're not going to make up that kind of ground on a horse like 7-11. So easily draw the line through the race, to me at least. We're drawn perfectly outside. I can't trust Bouncer if it's away from the main track at Colonial Downs, and I just think No Easy Days in a really good spot here.
Yeah, and what are you thinking trip-wise? You can go ahead and let Tilly just go ahead and go from the outside. I'll just take a little bit of a rating hold, and then I'm going to head in track because other than Batinga's Twin, I think he's got that next best speed to go ahead and make the first move around the turn and maybe keep a couple of these horses down inside in a little bit of trouble. Batinga's Twin, I thought it was a really good try, too, back at Laurel, chasing down Jerry's Gem, who looked home at the 8th pole. I'll give that race at Charlestown a little bit of a pass behind Valentine and Candy, but Batinga's Twin.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the ones in here, and I don't think it does any bettors any favor by giving out a ticket where you use both of them. You got to have a stand, and you're going to double a ticket if you give them out. That's why I went to single No Easy Days, but certainly Batinga's Twin. He's run well here, 6 for 6 in the exacta. He's going to be close throughout. Just going to have to try to work something out, and what could be a little tricky. I know it's just 6 in here, but could be a little tricky down there.
Hugh McMahon's horses are running a little bit better. I know he's a little bit light in the wind. Turf back to dirt. I do think this horse is capable with a little bit of a setup to bring a punch.
Yeah, I wasn't sure necessarily what to do with him. He's got back races for obviously, big-time connections with Brittany and Jamie Ness, but, Hugh McMahon knows the score too, does such a good job, and this horse is not out of the realm of possibility. Form a little muddied up with those turf races too,
Absolutely. 5-1-4-3 for Brian in race 8. I go 5-1-3-4. We're all over at Jack Harmon. I know you don't know if you've met Jack, but that's his numbers.
Okay.
5-1-5-1. That's why he gets the reference. Captain Red Can, as we like to refer to him as well. Let's wrap it up here in the 9th. This is another good betting race. I thought a mile and a 16th on the turf. Maidens, fillies and mares, 3, 4, 5-year-olds scratch the 8 in this moment. Leaves us with a field of 9. It's a really good race. Can we go right to the video spotlight, I guess, of the 7 horse? So Aquilina, out of that race down at Colonial in the Bluer Silks. Also in this race is Akela, who works an outer trip in the green cap, number 7 this particular. Watch this 5 here, top of the stretch home in the pink cap, pinkish and blue silks. absolutely nowhere to go. And even early in this race, it was a little bit tricky to settle, a little keyed up. The 7-horse, Brittany's horse, Kayla, didn't have the easiest of starts as well. I went back a little slower than a slight pinch, worked an inside-out trip in the final quarter. I do think these two will be players. I think, given a better, little better trip, I think Aquilina can still get the jump here on the 5-horse, Kayla. You go hunting for a firster with the 3. You're the top.
Well, here's the thing about this race. You look at everybody, your 62s, your 64s, they're all right there. It's going to be a trip race. You're the top with a big pedigree for Joe Allen and Jimmy Toner. I mean, the Dam won her debut. I think that's significant. And this is a half to Doswell, who was really, really good, winning the Grade 2 Fort Lauderdale down at my neck of the woods there at Gulfstream. Do we need a race? She's a 4-year-old first-time starter. Let's be honest. It's not ideal. It's not an ideal set of circumstances. Jimmy's not going to walk them over if they're not ready. And you got a slew of works here. Tote board race again. You don't want to see this horse at up 8 or 9 to 1. I'm just going to say she's probably got some talent. Maybe it won't be today, but I'll take a little bit of a shot with her.
I like it. Yeah, breeding, certainly a big family. The 9, Hidden Presence. Second off of a break. 3 wide both turns, a little overland trip at Aqueduct. Probably gets a little bit better. This one, she reverts anything back to the Keeneland race. 3 races back. It could be lights out, but looking for her to pick things up second back.
Yeah, I mean, it's Graham, so they're going to bet her. We know that, Graham Motion. You're right. If she buries this field, if she gets back to Keeneland or Gulfstream, but it's been a bit now, and she hasn't run a representative effort in her last 2 starts. If you want to say the layoff, well, maybe it's possible, but boy, she's 5 to 1 that day. Couldn't you run a little bit?
I would have expected a little bit more, but a really good race to wrap up our live card, our 9-race card. We are on the turf. Turf is labeled firm, main track fast. We're going to get into a little bit of lightning round, some best bets and value plays. Kick it off with Brian's best bet in race 4, number 5, Sophisticated Cat.
That's that tricky turf race, and I just said, you know what, let's just we'll see if we can just get the best horse home in there, because otherwise, it's the old single or go about 6 or 7 deep. So we'll see what we get.
All right, what do I have for a best bet today? Beaver State. All right, race 5, number 6, Robbie Bales, a horse that encountered trouble 2 or 3 times in its local debut. I think with a better post position moves out today, maybe we'll get a little bit better break. Brian commented this one has had a habit of getting away a little bit slowly, but I think there's flow inside with Beach Cowboy with that longer price that's coming back. Name's escaping, Lord of Mischief, to go ahead and sit and settle and make a good, sustained, prolonged run from the 3/8 pole. Value play time.
Yeah, Lucky Prince in that turf race. I'm all turf today, and it's great to be back on it here at Laurel. And Lucky Prince at 77 to 1 last time. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him today, if they kind of be scared by that or what. I think that race fits nicely in here.
Yeah, and I've got a value play as well. We're going to go back to the turf. We're going to go sprinting with a Fondi. Has run well over this turf. Recent form, dirtied up, synthetic, back to turf. But I like this positional speed. J-Rod, we've got one of our top riders here. I think he can go ahead and prompt with this filly and stay a long way for Bernie Dunham, who is dangerous as anything with these turf sprinters. So that's going to wrap up the live portion of the card, value plays, everything else like that. But we're going to touch upon real quick. We've got Maryland Million on Saturday, and Brian does the Maryland Million. Well, he does the morning line down at Gulfstream, does it here. And what a challenge. I talk about how tough it is. Real quick, we're going to talk about the Lassie to get you started, race 6 on the card. But is there anything you go to within your process that, you've done this for quite a while now, that can you just kind of talk people through? What do you look at first?
Well, I mean, connections are a big deal. I think obviously people are going to navigate to the Rodriguezes and things like that. Or you see a Ness, or you see a Brittany, certainly, of course, like that. You look for that. And then numbers, too. I'm not necessarily the biggest proponent of the Beyer speed figures, but they're front and center for everybody, and I think you have to use them. I think you're not doing a good job if you don't, take them into account front and center, and then maybe, you get some class, and you look at this kind of race here. This was an impossible.
Yeah, let's look at the Lassie real quick. A field of, we got 13, one on the AE with Great Andre. Morning line favorite within the body of the race at 9 to 2. I don't envy you at all here. Onyx 10 for Gary Capuano. Didn't really get on track at all down inside at Delaware, but you look back at those 2 previous races, those numbers do kind of stick out.
Yeah, big figures there. Didn't break well from the inside last time. The winner is twice in a row now, been good. Capuano, there's another barn that, high percentage barn that they're probably going to bet a little bit. And the other thing is, I feel like, Keith, she's run fast, and as competitive as this race is, not a lot of these fillies have run fast before.
Yeah, I may look for a little bit of a closer. You've got a horse to the inside. Shakira Fire showed a little late life last time when caught wide, but man, when you got the inside post and it's a field of 12.
Yeah.
You got your work cut out for you. So Cruzy's gonna have to be tied on. Let's touch upon the two. You've got a first-time starter in a Maryland Million race, but with connections. John Robb, we saw last year in the Lassie, Rob going to try to pull a McFarland with a firster. Dan Oman's greatest, one of the greatest selections ever in life on the show. It's 62-1, got it done in debut. 10-1. That makes perfect sense to me.
Had her at 8, went to 10. I had Chakra Fire at 20. She went off at 8. So you can see what I had no real idea. This is an interesting horse. She's worked pretty well in the morning. It's a homebred. You got to run these. This is a big spot if he's willing to take a shot. And as Keith and I have kind of alluded to, nobody's breaking any stopwatches in here. If she can run a little bit, she's hardly out of the realm of possibility. And as you said, think back 1 year, Dan Illman with the pick of a lifetime, and there you go.
Look at these works leading in 5/8, 5/8, 5/8, 3/4 out of the gate, out of a mare. I don't know if you touched upon that, but 6 for 12 was Yes I Danced, the mother of Eccentric. And did win at first asking. Have to dance for green is Eccentric. That's a horse that's done okay, but I don't know if we're talking a whole lot. I have got no word on the two. I just thought it's interesting, when you kind of look at these races, you got a firster, and he's got another one in here, doesn't he?
Yeah.
As well. Unfortunately, Great Andre, AE going to
who is clearly the horse to beat, right?
Yes, and going to need some help though with some scratch. Let's look real quick at race 10. I'd like to talk about the distaff on the Maryland Million card. 7/8 of a mile, the older fillies and mares. Field of 14. This is also kind of a chart caller's nightmare day as we're going to be put through the ringer, Bill and I upstairs. Not a chance to breathe, but 2 on the AEs. Who we got here, Brian? It's your
9-2.
9-2 Luke Core favorite, Malibu Beauty. Yeah.
I kind of feel like she's the horse in here, but there are so many different ways you can go, Keith. She's got a tricky post position. Again, it's Capuano. They're gonna bet him, but you could land on 6 or 7 different horses in here. The Malibu Moonshine's back. She loves it here off the claim for a really sharp barn. And there's plenty of other ways you can go, but at least at the morning line, I went with her over Miss Harriet, who comes in raging form and loves this place.
Yeah, it's Spencerian, razor sharp too. You look at the last race. I mean, she just ran like a wild horse around the track. Didn't break the grace, rushed up inside and just kept on going. An 89 number. That sticks out at you. I think Sheila's War Cloud is in good form, trending the right way with a trip that might just set up beautifully for her. Didn't have the easiest of races in that most recent state bred first level allowance. The Lassie, a tremendous betting race. Race 10 on Saturday's Maryland Million card. We'll wrap it up here this morning. Just talk real quick about the Classic and your morning line in this field of 11. 13, a total of 13, 2 on the AEs. Morning line favorite at 9-2 again. Feeling woozy, the 8 for Hammy Smith.
Yeah, I had 6 of them, Keith, that I was trying to figure out who it was going to be. I perfectly honest, not sure what they're going to do. He's got a monster race at 9 furlongs where he ran off the screen. I know it was Lasix that day, but I feel like he's trending the right direction. He's in good form. We could pick apart this field a little bit because there are horses in here that have form, but it's not necessarily current good form.
Yeah.
This is a big-time barn, big-time connections, and that race at 9 furlong just sticks out like a sore thumb to me.
Do you think, at a mile and an eighth, right,
Yeah.
at today's distance, or Saturday's distance for the Maryland Million Classic, race 11 on Saturday's card, do you see Carrasco getting very aggressive to not be caught too wide around the first turn? Or do you think, with horses that we've seen in the past, Ain't the Beer Cold, even hit the road jacket inform horse for Sanchez, do you think he could let them possibly go and sit just off of it, or is his style, I want to be really forward in here?
I think he's got to be forward, but I think this is such a cool race for many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And one of it is there's a lot of speed in here, and you don't necessarily get that in full fields on the main track where sometimes there's a little bit of grabbing. It's a jockey's race. It's going to see. He's going to have to get some position in there, but he's got that gallop to him. I think that it's going to work really well stretching back out in this spot.
I'll put you on the spot here real quick. We've got about 19 minutes until post time, and this is something that we've done as doing morning lines for a long time. You've got to look at it as John Q. Public.
Yep.
And then you come back. Sometimes when you look at it as John Q. Public, when you're looking, I always kind of peek and say, okay, who am I going to be able to line honestly, but I know I'm going to get that price. Do you have anybody in these three races that we talked about today that certainly you got line at double digits and you're pretty, confident they're going to slip through the cracks through the windows? Is there anybody there in any of these three?
I think it's Chakra Fire
Okay.
because she was a big number last time. She's never run all that fast before, but that's a flow race to me too. There's a lot of speed in there, and I'm going to try to pick up a lot of pieces. But you make a great point. We're trying to figure out what the betting public is going to do, not who we like, and sometimes that gets lost in the cracks, and sometimes it can make it difficult too. But I think she's one of the ones in here.
And that's one of the fun things a little bit. We both wager. We're not scared to step up to the window. You probably maybe a little bit more so than I. But you're always kind of got that in the back of your mind. Okay, who am I going to get away with?
Yeah.
We're going to do the right job. And we're not, we'd be exposed if we sat here. Everybody asked me when I was doing line, you make this horse. Come on, man. I'm not doing that. But we do know sometimes when we look at it at that first glance, we're going to get value here at the windows, and that's what I like. Well, listen, we've got 18 minutes until post time for this really good Thursday card. Hope you can join us if you can come out live. We got beautiful weather, lots of specials on tap today. I want to thank Brian Nadeau for coming out here and really doing an excellent job. He brings great insight. He'll be here all weekend. I think we've got Dan involved and the rest of the team here at Laurel Park. Expect a big betting weekend, and best of luck to everybody. 18 minutes to post. We go right here. Now we're going to go upstairs to Dave Rodman for some scratches and changes.